Welcome on into the Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chapp. And this is Tyler. Tyler,
what up, baby?
Say hi to everyone.
Yes,
and
sir.
we are live on the Detroit Lions News Podcast page. He is drinking Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid.
I'm drinking my Kool-Aid right now. Let's go.
We are live on Between the Whistles Detroit, so YouTube page. So that's cool. But Tyler, first of all, what was your key takeaways from the Lions-Bucks game, and what did you think? Because I thought it was an impressive victory all the way around.
So here we got my new jersey, bro.
Mind you, it's like a Meyer jersey, so it's good.
That's right. Hey, I can't take up the authentic. So, yeah, man. Look, JAMO, big time catch. We needed it, so he needed it. So the fans get off his ass. It was a great showing overall. I mean, the Bucks defense still looked pretty decent in certain areas of the game, but our offense was just much better. And we were hurt. Montgomery got hurt, and he screwed up my parlay. Yours too, I saw. Yeah. So as a team, like I said, we looked really good. We scored 20 points again for what was it, the fifth or sixth? I forget how many straight games. It's a team record.
Like 13.
Is it 13? I thought it was maybe 9
or 13.
But no, we looked really sharp. It just goes to show that even being down a bunch of guys, we still were able to rally and still able to have a good game and still put up points. Our offense is cooking right now. We're moving on all cylinders. Ben Johnson is calling good plays. The offense is cooking. Guys are buying into the culture and just kind of plug and play, which we talked about a lot this offseason. Just guys being able to come into the team and play these positions either that they're A, not familiar with, or B, that they just haven't gotten a lot of reps at. So that's a sign of a good team, is if you have depth and you can miss 3, 4, 5, 6 guys and you can still go out there and get a W and put up points. And dude, defense, a season low 6 points. We've just been absolutely cooking, man. Aaron Glenn, good thing that you were his only fan. Good. Brad Dan Campbell must have been listening, man, because I don't know, that guy, I was even giving him shit at the beginning of the year, and something happened in that Seattle game. I think being embarrassed the second straight year by Seattle, something clicked, and he went, no, hell no, not again. And I love it, man.
Well, the defense has turned around for the better, obviously, because when you hold the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to 6 points, it doesn't matter about how you did it or what you did. You held the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who, for the most part, they've been a good, productive offense. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, those guys are going to really they could really wreck your game plan. But, what I like about Aaron Glenn and his game plan is I felt like the Seattle game, they didn't press enough. They didn't go at DK Metcalf. They didn't go at Tyler Lockett enough. I thought they were trying to prevent the big play. So when you try to prevent the big play, you're going to give the stuff underneath. And I thought ever since then, he's played more man. And Jared Jacobs is not a zone corner. Cameron Sutton might be a zone corner because he's just a smart dude, and we've seen it.
Yeah, but he plays pretty good, man.
Yeah, but the one thing it's a lot of people don't understand. When you could either be a man corner or you could be a zone corner, and there's very few players that can play both, right? So if you're a man guy like Jerry Jacobs, you have to play man. If you play zone, he's not fast enough, he's not skilled enough to get to that point A, point B in time to make the tackle. Now he can make the tackle eventually, but over time, you're going to see him, make some mistakes. Cameron Sutton can play both sides. He can play zone and man, and he can also play that hybrid coverage. So I thought what Aaron Glenn did in the Tampa Bay game was brilliant. And there's another guy that I think is not getting any love by the fan base. Well, now he might be. It's Alex Anzalone. You told me in the offseason when they signed him, they're like, why did we re-sign this guy? I was like, he's good in the locker room.
He's a guy.
But this guy is playing out of his mind right now.
No, he is. And it's super weird to see somebody, what is this, his 7th season? How the hell do you, how do many guys all of a sudden at their 7th or 8th year go get all of a sudden.
We'll get to it, Darcy.
Yeah, how the hell do you go from entering your 7th or 8th season and all of a sudden you're just 10 times better than you've ever been, and you're just playing lights out ball, and all of a sudden you're just a completely different player. Well, to your to credit to our DC and your boy Aaron Glenn, how you do that is good coaching and good schemes and being put in a position to succeed. So shout out to AG and Calvin Shepard, man, for getting him ready every week.
Yeah, and I feel like,
and to Anzalone, I mean, he is the player and he's doing well.
man, I feel like people are not putting enough credit on Alex Anzalone. I don't feel like they're giving enough credit to Aaron Glenn. I think Aaron Glenn's getting more credit, but Alex Anzalone, the way he's played the last couple weeks in particular, he's been just all over the field. And that play that he made, I think it was against Cade Otton, where he slammed the ball out of his hand. Like, just what a great play that he made. And this is what this Lions team is. Like, they aren't the most talented team. Like, there's no Fred Warner, there's no Nick Bosa. I mean, we think Aiden Hutchinson could be Nick Bosa, but they're just playing together and they're making things happen. And if you are a Lions fan, like, you just harping back to the going to work Pistons, kind of like they just do their job at a high level, and they don't let you get anything stupid. Like, they don't do anything stupid.
Well, I remember us, and you're right about that, because I remember us talking and having a conversation of is with getting all these captains and getting all these leaders, is it going to be a situation where everybody's fighting to be the alpha and everybody's like trying to fight each other to like be the leader? Or are you just going to have so many damn leaders on the team that it just works out and everybody keeps each other accountable and everybody just plays great ball? Like, so far, the experiment of just going and getting leaders all over the field is absolutely working. Like, it looks great.
Yeah, I think Joe Barea says it the best. They said they trust each other, so that's a good one. But I want to get to something real quick because Dan Davis in the One Pride group, he says, "Do you see Brad Holmes and Lions making any deals at trade deadline?" Me and Tyler were talking about this pre-show, and I just have an inkling, kind of like I kind of believe it. I think he's going to make a huge deal at the deadline. I do. I think that they're going to win against the Raiders, or they might win both games. Like, I think this Ravens game coming up is going to be the toughest game yet. Toughest game yet. You got the Ravens defense, they're a tough team, but you go play the Raiders at home, Monday Night Football, you're probably going to just destroy the shit out of them, okay? Because Jimmy Garoppolo might not be playing that game.
Yeah. Yeah, and to answer his question in short, from my point of view, I definitely see a move happening, but with knowing like what I know about Brad Holmes is that it's got to be for the right price, because he's not just going to throw the absolute house at somebody for something that barely moves the needle, right? I could see a potential like Brian Burns, Chase Young, Derek Brown, someone on that defensive line that can rush the passer. But it's not going to be at a super premium cost. Like, we're not going to go, yeah, right.
See, here's the thing.
Trade a first-round pick 2024 in Rodrigo for Crosby. I'm sorry, man. I appreciate you, but the Raiders would laugh in our face and hang up the damn phone.
I want the Lions fans to just settle down for a minute. A guy like Max Crosby is totally out of the question, because if you are the Vegas Raiders, you might fire Josh McDaniels. You might fire Josh McDaniels tomorrow, and you need a guy on that defense that can actually be your linchpin. Because the one thing that the Vegas Raiders, I almost said the Vegas Knights, which is a hockey team,
which are a much better franchise than the Vegas Raiders.
Right. The Vegas Raiders, what they need most is a quarterback. If they get a quarterback in this quarterback-rich draft, you could pencil them in as a team that could be on a Super Bowl run, because Devontae Adams, and then you hear they want to trade Hunter Renfrow, which makes no effing sense, because Renfrow in the slot is great, but they got Jacoby Myers, they got Devontae Adams. They're a mess over there in Vegas, and with Jimmy Garoppolo out the next couple games, it's going to be fun to watch Josh McDaniels try to coach for his job with Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, and there's a sometimes we bring up
what am I got?
What's up, baby? What's up, man? There's things that like realistically trade wise, like if a guy like Max Crosby were to even be available, which is a big question, you're talking about a minimum of probably 2 firsts and a third at a minimum. Yeah. I mean, and that's your starting point, and they're probably going to ask for a player. They might even ask for a guy like JAMO or someone with like high upside. So it's going to take a lot to prize someone like that away. So I think you got to look at guys that are coming up on
Expiring
contract,
deals. Look for
expiring
guys on
deals.
expiring deals.
Yep.
There's two guys that I want to mention. Obviously you mentioned Brian Burns. Brian
Yep.
Burns would be a good on the opposite of Aiden
And
Hutchinson.
Chase Young keeps popping up too.
Chase Young, but are the Commanders really gonna? That's the thing. If the Commanders say screw it, let's go get it. Let's go get a second for Chase Young. You're doing it. Period.
Right.
Sorry. Right. Now you might not sign Chase Young because injuries. You kind of worry about that, but I think Chase Young would be a good one. I also want people to look at Leonard Williams for the Giants. I think he'd be great next to Lee McNeil. Maybe a guy like Adoree Jackson, the cornerback from the Giants. I think the Giants are going to be a seller at the deadline. That's obvious.
I got one for you. What about Danielle Hunter?
That's the guy. That's the guy I think would be great with this defense because he kind of has that. Dude, he's just. You know what?
I think you said something about Danielle Hunter last week, didn't you?
Yeah, he might not be. He might not be the greatest guy because he went crazy that one day. But
that should happen. CTE, you know.
You know what? If you if you can get a guy like Danielle Hunter, that would be freaking fantastic. Now people are saying now Darcy says trade for an extra running back. I agree with that. But guess who's available right now?
Gibbs?
No.
Mo Ibrahim, baby.
No.
He's available.
No. I didn't even know this was a nickname. I didn't know this was a nickname for Leonard Fournette. Playoff Lenny.
Oh yeah, Lenny, man.
Lenny.
I can't believe he's not on a team. That's weird.
You know what? He's probably doing like the Ndamukong Suh thing where he goes to a team that he thinks can win a Super Bowl. But if you're Leonard Fournette and you see that, like, okay, Montgomery is on the shelf. Maybe I go there, I can play some games and do some things, but I don't know. I don't know where you go with the running back position.
And it's funny because I'm just messing around, man. With Mo Ibrahim coming back, I've seen so many people be like, "Mo Ibrahim's back. Mo Ibrahim's back." It's like he never even really played a snap for us. So I'm cool to see what he looks like, but don't expect much from an undrafted rookie.
He got hurt, so
we'll see. I mean, I liked him coming out of college. He was a beast at Minnesota, but a lot of Big Ten teams tend to run the shit out of their running backs, down to the ground.
Well, if you see what Mo Ibrahim did at Minnesota, I mean, they ran his ass that's the only thing they had on Minnesota's offense. So they ran.
It reminds me of Jonathan Taylor, dude. Wisconsin was giving this dude 400 carries a year. Holy hell.
We got Hawaii in the house. Matt, he's from Maui. He says go Lions. So that's cool. That is very cool.
Yeah. Repping 58, baby.
Oh yeah, you know what? Penei Sewell is from Hawaii, so that's even better because But we had Haloti Nada at one point too, so that was great.
Yep.
Robert Davis, he says, what about John Uche from New England? That's an interesting one because it might be cheap.
Yeah, Josh Uche got the Michigan ties.
Yep. And then Josh says getting Branch back would be huge. Hopefully we get him back this week because I'm telling you right now, if they get Brian Branch back, holy crap.
Yeah.
Because this is a week that you are going to need Brian Branch. You talk about Lamar Jackson, how he can escape outside the pocket. Just have a QB spy on that guy at all times.
Well, and we got guys coming back and looking fresh. I mean, look at Julian Okwara. I thought had a pretty good game.
Yeah, Julian Okwara had a big game. And Josh Pascal is gonna come back pretty soon. So they're starting to get.
And we still don't even have James Houston for all you James Houston fans out there. All you dudes that were straight juicing his knob, talking about he was, the next whatever. Which hey,
you were on that bandwagon too, so don't even.
No, but dude, like I said, dude, hey, I'm telling you, that elite dip and bend that is so Von Miller-esque. Now, I'm not saying he is going to be that guy, but he's got that natural dip and bend. James Houston can be a big deal here. I don't know if the coaching staff still values him as much as the fans value him.
Yeah.
I still think they see truly that he is a third down, or not a third down, a pass rushing specialist and not your every down edge rusher. But I got to think that I got to think that he's definitely got a place on this team, especially on a cheap deal. And he's potentially a guy that you're not going to have to break the bank on getting him back because he isn't your typical blue chip
right
guy. I mean, It depends on it. For last year, we kind of joked and we kind of kept saying that like James Houston is the best kept league secret, like the best kept secret in the league. So we'll see. We'll see how he looks when he comes back.
Maybe this injury was a good thing because maybe you can say, "Hey James, we know that you had an injury. Sign here, 2 years, 3 years."
Yeah.
Then you kind of put it together where you're like, "Okay, we can get this thing together." James
Well, then you
Houston.
can see what he is. Like you can't no teams have film on his moves or know what he looks like. So it's hard to judge a guy for your. I mean, his first 7 games were phenomenal. 8 games were phenomenal. But you can't necessarily like crown a guy like king or bust after just 6 or 7 games. I mean, well, I think he's going to be a good addition and a good rotation to this team, but it just depends on if him and his agent overvalue themselves, and I don't think it's something we're going to overspend on.
You see that a lot though.
But
You do see teams, like especially agents, say like, "I won't take nothing less," right? And then
right.
you're like, "What the hell are you thinking, dude?" Like I Jamal Williams' agent really cost them a lot
Oh
of
yeah,
money
yeah.
because he's like, "Look, dude, like I'm Jamal Williams and I'm gonna play my cards right." And then next thing you know, the Lions signed Dave
Yeah,
Montgomery.
and
He
we're like,
goes to New
see
Orleans.
you later, goodbye.
Yeah, they're like, "See you, bye," because I don't think Brad Holmes plays that way. So, like, that's just the thing. Like, I don't think he plays that way.
Well, I mean, think about DeAndre Swift. He's like, oh, well, you just drafted Gibbs. Well, I don't know if I want to be here anymore. All right, see ya. Hey, Philly, you want this dude? Yeah. All right, bye. Hey, man, you're out of here. We got you on the next. We got you the next plane right out of here. So see you later. You don't want to be here? Bye.
So Dan Davis in the One Pride Nation group, he says, "What are your thoughts on a Goff contract extension? How much per year should he get in a deal, in your
And we've
opinion?"
brought this up a few times that I do think it might be like valuable to spend a little bit of time actually talking about that and making it a little bit of a topic.
That's what I really wanted to talk about because okay, I think
I'm gonna quote. I know he's a little in the news right now with the whole Tupac stuff, but I'm gonna quote a famous man who once said, "Today's price is not yesterday's price." It is the price is going up, man. The price is going up
so
on Jared Goff, and every day that he has games like he just did, price goes up.
I remember once upon a time there was a guy to my left. Wait, right. Wait. Ah. that said that said that we needed a new quarterback and his name was
Yeah, yeah.
Tyler. Now we have another guy in the comments that I want to really bring up because this guy, as great as the guy as he is, my Canadian brother, Darcy, he's talking about Hendon Hooker. And like, okay, let me just put this out for everyone that wants this to know. You're gonna have to pay Jared Goff. Period. End of story. Are we all in agreement? We're in agreement.
I think so. I mean, I'm sure there's people that still don't think that, but why stop the momentum and why stop the train right now where you're going? Because if we get into a deep playoff run and God forbid get close to the Super Bowl or even finish out the season, say 13-4, like how the hell do you replace you have to reward the quarterback with a contract. You can't just be like, oh, here's the guy who hasn't played in 2 years. Here's the guy that's only 3 years younger than you and Hendon Hooker. It's not going to happen. Jared Goff's going to be here for at least another 4 years.
Okay, so let me just get to it because a lot of people tell me all the time that Jared Goff doesn't have the arm to be like thrown deep, right? A lot of people tell me that Jared Goff cannot lead a team to the Super Bowl because he took a stacked Rams team to the Super Bowl, blah 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 blah. All all just everything you hear about Jared Goff is just like it's kind of like, oh, we need a guy like Matthew Stafford again, or we need a Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. The newsflash: Mahomes, Josh Allen, aliens. We already talked about aliens before. They're aliens. Like you have a great quarterback in Jared Goff, and I can say great for a fact because I think he should be in the MVP conversation without a doubt. Let's look at this. So this is Goff's air yards. Okay, see Tua, see Purdy, see God, who is that? Oh, Allen, and then you got Goff at 8 yards air yards per pass. This is another one. Most completions, gaining 20 plus yards. Jared Goff. Another one. Among all NFL quarterbacks this season, Lions quarterback Jared Goff ranks first in 20 plus yard. We already went over that. Third in quarterback rating, third in yards per attempt, 7.97, third in first down percentage, 37.9%, fourth in tight ends in touchdowns responsible for, 13, tied fourth in completion percentage. That means he's efficient as well, and he's fifth in the yards. Let's go to another one. Jared Goff over his last 17 games, the equivalent of a full NFL season, 391 of 578. That's 67.6% completion percentage. 4,473 yards, 29 passing touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Guys, if you don't think that's a good quarterback, I want to know what you think is a good quarterback. Because
that's MVP numbers.
Because here's the other side to you getting a quarterback, okay? Let's say you go in the draft, right? And you drafted a guy like Michael Penix. There's a chance that he could bust out real quick. And it's easy to get bad at quarterback. It's even harder to get better at quarterback with a quarterback that you already have that you think is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's like saying like, oh, I have a good car right now. Let me trade it in for let me trade in for this 1971 Lamborghini. Like, okay, it might work. It might work. It might be better. But at the same time, you're not getting the same. It's not a new car. So you're paying more for, you're not helping yourself.
Well, and I think that you have to like I was talking about, not only about talent, but you have to set the culture straight by like rewarding the guys who really win for you and the guys that rally around these guys. Like Jared Goff is very liked in the locker room. He's very liked by the team. He's very liked by the coaching staff and by the fans. So for you to take all that and say, we're gonna go with somebody else, it won't happen. It can't happen. Like it would be like it just doesn't happen. I mean, it would be like Aaron Rodgers like 5-6 years ago with the Packers. That was just before, obviously he got traded to the Jets last year, but he's almost 40. That'd be like Rodgers at 32, 33, 34, or a guy like later on in their career, that's still producing, just being able to just saying like, oh, never mind, see you later. We don't need you. We don't want you. Even though everyone, coaches, GM, fans, all like you have to pay your guys. I mean, a guy like Daniel Jones, they paid because they felt like they needed, and he's not even nearly as good as Goff, and they felt like they needed to keep him.
He wasn't putting up the numbers as good as Goff.
No, and they still paid him because they figure, hey, we could still get worse at quarterback. I mean, Kyler Murray got paid, Deshaun Watson got paid, and Goff is light years better than those guys. But the teams were like, oh, shit, we need to keep this guy around because this is our only choice or our only option. Obviously, there's always options. But for us, why would you get rid of somebody that the fans, the players, the coaches all love? We're winning games, and he's putting up good numbers. Like, we only lost one game. The cap's going to go up next year. Yep. And like we talked about last episode, a lot of quarterbacks take up, between 15 and 18% of the cap anyways. So if the cap goes up, I mean, I think to answer the other part of the question, what does that look like contract wise? I think it starts at about it starts at about 5 years, $200 million.
It starts at Daniel Jones' contract. That's where it starts.
Yeah, you're saying no, because I actually think that's what I was talking about last week about starting at Daniel Jones. But I actually like starting at more like the 5-year mark because that does give you a little bit more longevity, especially for Goff's age, because he just had I think he just turned 29.
Yeah,
just had a birthday. So if you get him on a 5-year deal, you get him till 34. And statistically speaking, most quarterbacks are their best between 29 and 33. I mean, Peyton Manning won his first Super Bowl at 30. Drew Brees won his first Super Bowl at 30. John Elway won his first Super Bowl at either 30 or 31.
Right.
He is hitting his stride in his prime. You got to give this. You got to start off at least 5 years, $200 million is the base point, and then the high point would be like Lamar Jackson. 5 year, $245 million. I don't know if Goff demands that kind of money.
No.
But if they said, "Hey, 5 years, $215 million," I wouldn't scoff. I'd be like, "Okay, it's about $42.5 million per year, and he's already getting about $33.5. So I mean, with the cap going up, giving him an extra $10 million per year, I'm completely fine with that.
I always tell people that the cap doesn't matter, especially when you're talking about a quarterback. You're talking about
the cap is a myth in football, bro.
Well, look at the 49ers. I mean, they find cap room. If you have a good cap guy, which the Detroit Lions do with Mike Disner, you'll be fine. But here's where you got to go into. if you didn't pay Goff, right? We always talk about the growing pains. Okay, so like Patrick Mahomes, right? He came in his rookie year, he did a pretty damn good job. That's a very rare case. He set a year behind Alex Smith too, so that's another one. Josh Allen, he struggled year 1, year 2. You kind of got it. He's still kind of trying to figure out stuff. When you have a quarterback who's mature, you can't put a price on it. There's no price that you could put on having a mature quarterback because at the same time you're talking about going to get a young quarterback. But the thing about it is if you go get a quarterback that's younger, there's a chance that you're making your team worse because you're going to have to go through growing pains. And
Mhm.
Ken Fisher says, he says St. Brown's contract has come up. That's the point. You're at a window right now where you have guys on a rookie contract like Aiden Hutchinson, like Penei Sewell. This is the time to win.
Yeah.
This is the time to win. And obviously you can win in the future. You can win. This is a sustainable product we have here in Detroit because of Brett Holmes drafting as well as he has. But at the same time, you look at all these players that you might have to pay like a St. Brown, like a Kirby Joseph, like a Brian Branch, like a Jack Campbell, like a Hutchinson. You got guys that you got to pay. Even John Jackson this year, you have to pay. So at the same time, you're talking about not paying Jared Goff. You have a lot of guys to pay. And what you don't want to do is waste those years with a rookie quarterback. And if you say, let's trade for a quarterback, right? Let's trade for some guy that becomes available, right? Look at the trades that these quarterback trades have worked out. Has the Russell Wilson trade worked out? Absolutely not. Did the Aaron Rodgers trade work out? Obviously there was injury,
To be
but
determined.
it didn't work out that great. Because if you think he's going to come back off of Achilles and be the same player, potentially because he's a quarterback, but at the same time, like he's older. So that's Deshaun Watson. That trade, did it work out?
Nope.
No. So that's what you deal with when you say let's go trade for a quarterback. If you trade for a quarterback, it could be much worse.
The way I see it too, and you can front load some of these contracts, and people think like you can't. I still think there's a very possible way that we can keep Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Amon Ra, and Jared Goff. You can pay all those guys because we have a lot of cap space, and you got to think there's going to be guys that are coming off the books. You're going to have, you're going to have some dead money coming off the books. You're going to have Romeo Arquara coming off the books. You're going to have Charles Harris coming off the books. You're going to have Taylor Decker potentially coming off the books if you decide that you want to move Penei Sewell to left tackle. You got these guys that you can afford. You got Manuel Mosley coming off the books. I mean, we still have an additional $25 million coming off the books next year, and we haven't even paid any of these guys, and we still have a shit ton of cap space. And the way that you can structure these contracts, because it's like Amon Ra, 2 years later, Aiden Hutchinson, a year later, Kirby Joseph, a year later, Brian Branch, you can front load some of those contracts where you give them a huge signing bonus and you give them a lot of money up front. And then later, as their contract goes, it can mesh with the other contracts. Like you said, if you have a good cap guy, you can make it happen. Like, I am not scared at all that we are not going to be able to pay all of our players. So I mean, maybe there's going to be some guys that you can't retain at some point, but for the most part, you know, like everyone fell in love with Rodrigo, right? Dude, you're gonna be able to resign Rodrigo for like 3 years for like 12 million, 15 million. I mean, you're not gonna cost you 15, 20 million a year. You know what I mean? Like some of these guys, they're gonna find their exact roles and they're gonna find places to fit. And naturally, they're not going to cost as much money because they've kind of carved out their role and they weren't able to necessarily be like that superstar and demand that high level of money. But I don't think there's a world where we really have to worry necessarily about paying Amon Ra and Penei Sewell and Hutchinson and all these guys because every team has their cornerstones. Every team has their staples. I see all those guys being lines for 10 plus years easy.
Yeah,
I'm not worried.
The thing about it though is you said something about front loading the contract. That makes sense from the standpoint of you could do that, and also you could backload contracts too, or just have it even killed. One of the things that I learned when I was in scouting school is that especially in the NFL, because NFL is a lot different than the NHL or Major League Baseball. There's no salary cap. In the NHL, it's a harder cap, and it's a lot less money. But basketball is the same way. Like there's a lot of teams they backload these contracts. Like for instance, like the LA Lakers, they backloaded a contract with Anthony Davis, which probably is not a good idea, but they backloaded the contract with Anthony Davis, and now it's costing them. You got to figure out kind of like a happy medium. Like if you're gonna front load the contract for, let's say, St. Brown, right, and then you backload it for Jonah Jackson, you want to make sure that you get the most out of that those years that it's going to
Mhm.
cost the most. So predominantly what you want to do is you want to find your youngest player on the roster. So let's say it's Penei Sewell. You're going to try to backload that contract as much as you can
Right.
because he's going to be a staple on your team for longer. You would do the same for Aiden Hutchinson, and that's how you can kind of stack them together. And if you have a good cap guy, it can absolutely work because a lot of people, they look at the cap number and they go, oh, okay, that's what it is. No, these guys that are cap guys like Disner for the Lions, he's looking at it and he's going, okay, it's going to be this projection is this, and this is what I could do right here. And that's what they do with San Francisco. They pay players the way that they're supposed to be played, but they structure it to where
Mm.
it doesn't hurt them. That's the
Well,
reason they signed Javon Hargrave.
well, and think about it. You can convert like salary into roster bonus and signing
Yep.
bonus. I mean, you can get so creative with it. Um, if you want to keep your guys, you'll keep your guys. I mean,
Yep.
do you remember every year being like, oh my God, the New Orleans Saints are $50 million above cap. How the hell will they do it? 3 weeks later, oh, okay, we restructured this guy, we extended this guy, we restructured this guy, we released this guy. All right, we're good, ready to go. And no, like key pieces were gone. Like it's just don't worry about that stuff, guys. Man, if we want to keep our guys, we're gonna keep them.
And you'll find ways to keep your guys, and that's the way it works. I want to go to a comment about Josh says Goff isn't a flashy quarterback, but neither was Tom Brady, but a very good pocket passer. And I always tell people, yeah, you would love to have Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, you would love to have Josh Allen. Yeah, you would have like to have those guys. But the side to that is you could have a guy like Zach Wilson. You could have a guy like Bryce Young who just looks hapless right now. That's what could happen with your team. So that's what you got to look at. Steven Taylor says, "Yep, I agree. If we go to the Super Bowl, I'm taking another mortgage out on my house. You do that."
So I kind of got some cool news too. I haven't really talked about it yet. I'm kind of running through this contest in my work, and I have I work for like a pretty big company or whatever for insurance. And if I'm able to meet some goals, and they're very obtainable from now until the end of November, I'm going to be winning a trip to the Super Bowl. I didn't even tell you that, Joe. I'm going to be winning a Super Bowl ticket, man. So if the Lions somehow make it there, which they're cooking, and if I'm there, I'm gonna be dropping some live footage, man, live coverage from Vegas, from DLN on DLN Pod, man.
Listen, if you go to the Super Bowl, I'm gonna be freaking pissed, dude. Especially if the Lions are in it, dude.
Right.
Like, that would be such bullshit. Like, man, oh man. See, that's where I would have to use my Detroit Media Sports Association
Just be like,
credentials.
hey, if every fan on our page leaves Joe $1, we can fund him to get him to the Super Bowl.
Just one measly dollar. You know
One
what? And
single tiny dollar.
then we can play that Sarah McLachlan music where like in the arms of an angel, and it's like me with a sad pouty face, outside
Yep.
Ford Field. That would work, but that's pretty cool. That is pretty
Yeah,
cool
no,
though.
it'd be cool. We'll see. I thought it was kind of dumb because it was like the contest was like just for like, not dumb. I mean, I'm grateful, but it's like for one ticket, and it's like, who the hell wants to go to something like that by themselves? Like, usually it's like, two, so you can like bring a friend or bring a significant other or bring a family member, someone to go with. Just be hanging out in Vegas, just me, myself, and I. Now, would be other people coming from our company, but yeah, if the lines were to go, dude, it would be stupid. It would be crazy. It'd be amazing.
One person who would enjoy that is Dan Miller. Ken Fisher says is Dan Miller is our Ernie Harwell in the book. The man is so enthusiastic. Go Lions. You know what? Dan Miller, this guy, he follows the page, so he probably
Oh
might see
yeah,
it. But
Dan's cool.
I've had him on the podcast a couple of times before we started like the Detroit Lions news podcast. But he's a great guy and he deserves to call a winner. I mean, he's called so
Oh
much
yeah.
bad football. it's absolutely incredulous. Like if you're Dan Miller, man, this is probably like the best time of your life because this is actually the first real team that Detroit has had. I know people harken back to 2014 or 2011, but those teams weren't as good as this team. So that's how it is.
Hang on 1 second. We need to talk about this guy, man. We need to talk about this guy in my back here.
JAMO?
Right. My new JAMO jersey, for those that haven't seen it.
There's the fake Williams jersey. No.
Listen, man.
Now you can do your victory lap because you were telling people that they need to harken back on JAMO.
Listen, bro. Listen. All right, I'm about to go on a little. Joe has his rant. I'm gonna go on a little rant of mine here. Look, all you fake JAMO lovers are talking all this shit. He catches a bomb, and I see the entire fan base blow up and go ballistic. Like, I'm happy to see that he's getting support and that he caught a deep touchdown. But don't be so flippant on a guy who's so young and hasn't had his reps, man. Like, let this guy grow. Let this guy learn. Ride the highs, ride the lows. But like I said, until I said it last week, and I'll double down and say it again, I'm not going to get too high on him. I'm not going to get too low on him until I see this man play 55 snaps in a game. I want to see what he looks like for a full game plan. But from what I see a lot of potential. I see a lot of passion. I see a lot of heart. I see a dude with game-breaking, game-changing speed. Now, yeah, he needs to work on his hands a little bit, but my theory to that, and I texted you the other day, when you actually watch him, it's not a lack of talent, I think, that his drops come from. It's like, it's all mental, man. It's a confidence thing. This dude, you can tell he's like scared to fuck up, right? He's scared to screw up. He's scared to drop the ball. He's scared to be a bust. Like, he's young. He has a ton of pressure on him because anytime he makes one little mistake, he just beats himself into the ground over it. He's upset. He's upset with himself. He's just, he's ready to whip his helmet on the ground. Not really, but he's just, you can tell he's upset with himself. And I like that in a player because that means he's passionate and I do think he's really talented. But like, if we can, as a fan base, maybe tamper some of that and let this guy feel like he has the patience and he has a chance to grow and to be better and learn, like, let's give that to him because being scared and worried that you're going to be a bust or you're going to drop the ball or people are going to hate you, dude, it's hard to play sports scared. I mean, Joe, you played sports. I've played sports. A majority of you guys have played, high school football, basketball, baseball. If you're scared shitless that you're going to do something wrong, you're probably going to do something wrong more often than not, man. It's all up here. Sports are I swear, like half mental, man. 60% mental, 40% physical. I mean, obviously, you got to be in some, you have to have some physical talent to be good at sports, especially wide receiver. But you'd be surprised, man, on how much of the game is on the mental aspect. And if you got this guy scared shitless that he's going to drop the ball and that's all he thinks about, he's going to drop the damn ball. So let's let him, let's let him just do his thing, be confident, and let's get used to watching this guy catch 50, 60-yard bombs. Stop freaking loving to hate on somebody. It's so damn annoying. It's like I knew that I feel like there's people waiting and wanting JAMO to drop the ball or to do something bad so they can fucking rip on him and validate themselves in their own opinions. Don't be that kind of fan. Root for this guy. Wish him well. Let's see what he can do. Like, let's get excited about him. You can't sit there and like wish somebody to be shitty so that we can prove you right because you thought it was a bad pick or because you don't think he's going to be talented. That's so toxic. And I know you know what the shit I'm talking about, man, because it happens with so many players in so many different areas. So, JAMO for president. Let's go. Good catch, man. Good ball. And let's let this kid grow and shine, man. Like, seriously, let's see what he's got.
So, you kept talking about the mental aspect of the game. I think a lot of people overlook that, especially when you talk about the mental aspect of being a wide receiver, because there's a point in time where you're going to have to make a catch over the middle and you're going to have to fear the retribution of getting hit. That's just the reality. Second part about it is with being a wide receiver, you got to be mentally, ready to make a mistake. Like you will make a mistake at some point. I remember, I think it was Julian Edelman. I think he was on a New Heights podcast or whatever, but he was saying that like one time he ran the wrong route just by like 2 yards, and it ended up in a pick six for Tom Brady in like a playoff game. And he goes, "That was on me." So a 2-yard thing could happen and that could really set you back. So as a wide receiver, you got to be confident. So if you're not playing, like JAMO hasn't played enough to even understand what his full capabilities are. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like he hasn't played. I mean, you look at Zay Flowers, right? The Baltimore Ravens. We're gonna see him this week. He's played like 285 snaps. JAMO's played what, like 30 this year?
Yeah, in
And
his
then
total career, I think he's at like 100, a little over 100.
so yeah, if you go 100 in 2 years and 255 in one, not even 1 year. You're talking
Half,
about like
yeah,
6
a
games.
third of a season.
That's what you talk about. Like as a young wide receiver, the things that you learn are going to be trying to getting on the field and actually doing it. And until you do that, you won't know. One of the players I want you to remember is Nico Collins. Nico Collins for the Houston Texans. He was a good player at Michigan. Sad he didn't have a quarterback. Shea Patterson was an ass. But he gets CJ Stroud. He becomes a better route runner. He becomes a better pass catcher. We all know he had it in him.
Did they have Nico Collins, Tariq Black, and Donovan Peoples-Jones all at once?
Yes, they did.
That's tough pill to swallow. Anyways, that's a core, man. That's because hey, I know Tariq Black can be forgotten about, but that dude was an absolute dog coming out of high school.
He was a beast, and Donovan Peoples-Jones has showed that he is a beast, and you just like you can't replicate it, man. Like you can't replicate live game action. Like
No.
I always hear it all the time, like, but you got practice, bro.
But think about this: if you mess up one play, but you only get 12 snaps, you think about that one play because you've messed up, 8% of the time you've been on the field. Like, if you get 10 snaps and you drop 2 passes, you drop 20% of your opportunities. You focus on it more. If you get an opportunity to play 60 snaps in a game and you drop one pass and you get 13 targets, well, that's okay because you had 12 other targets to make up for it. And you have a chance to show your skill and to allow to grow into that role. I mean, I know that was a huge monkey off his back getting that deep tutty, and that was a damn good adjustment and a damn good catch.
Yeah, even Jared Goff said on 97 Ticket today that was a hell of an adjustment to get the ball. And Doug says on YouTube, he says JAMO is not going to have a 50 to 60 snap game, not in this offense. You're right, he's not. But he's just got to get snaps under his belt. It doesn't matter how it goes over a course of 5-6 games. Maybe he's getting 60 snaps. It doesn't have to be in one game because the way this offense works, the way that they roll out different personnel, you're not going to see a guy get 50, 60 snaps unless his name is Amon St. Brown.
And I don't think that actually, I don't really think that's necessarily true either because I've seen games where already that Josh Reynolds has gotten 45, 50 snaps.
But you got to understand about Josh Reynolds.
No, and I get it. I mean, Josh.
That's what I'm trying to say. He built a trust with Jared Goff. He's earned the trust. And if you look
but
over,
I also don't think that I don't think you can necessarily say that we can't have an offense where JAMO can get 55 snaps. I don't think that that's fair.
I mean,
either.
it depends on the game. Like, what do you like? It depends on the game, in my opinion.
Well, what do you want I mean, he was drafted 12th overall. He's not going to be a gadget guy. What do you want him to be?
No, I don't think he's going to be a gadget guy, but I think that you're going to put Jameson Williams in the best spot to succeed. Yeah. So, you might put in a 2 tight end set, and Jameson might come out the field. Like Josh Reynolds is a guy
which by the way, dude, like, he's throwing down these blocks, and that shows he wants to be on the field.
Yeah, the one thing, if you could show that you can block as a wide receiver.
Hey, no block, no rock, baby. No block, no rock.
Ben Johnson got the best quote, no block, no rock. And yeah, just if you can't block as a wide receiver, like what do you do? Because most of the time you're not going to get the ball, okay? Like I think like if you bet on fantasy football, you do the prop bets or whatever, and you see the receptions that you can bet on. I mean,
unless you're some random ass white dude that plays for the Rams, because that means Matthew Stafford's going to target you about 19 times a game.
Well, like what Puka Nacua, 1 week I was looking at the FanDuel and he was like a 6.5 minus like 145. I was like, holy shit, dude! Like there is no value in this. Like you have to go alternate like 9 receptions for you to get any value. Yep. Like it was just insane. But like I look at it like this, dude. Like I think Jameson Williams will get more snaps as we go along. And I
Mhm.
think when this week could be a huge week for him because I think with the way that the Ravens play and the zero blitzes, I think if you can get them in a zero blitz and you can get Jameson Williams out in space, man, you can really just destroy the Ravens defense like that because we know that the Ravens are going to run a lot of zero blitzes. If you ever watch the Ravens, they'll throw in a zero blitz every once in a while. And we know Mike McDonald, that he was the defensive coordinator for the University of Michigan. And if you go back to Mike McDonald's time as the University of Michigan defensive coordinator, one thing that he has done routinely, if it's not on tape, he gets carfuffled. He really does. He gets carfuffled. One of the things that especially the Michigan State game where Kenneth Walker went for 5 touchdowns, right? There was a play in there that they ran like 20 different times, and 4 of them went for a touchdown. It was the same play, literally the same play, and they could not stop it, man. They could not stop that one specific play that was not on tape, and Mike McDonald was literally like, "What the hell do I do?" See, that's where a guy like Ben Johnson, Dan Campbell, Mark Brunell, Antoine Randall, those guys that you have in your coaching staff, and everyone says it's Ben Johnson's offense. This is Dan Campbell's offense. Let's be
Right.
totally clear with this. I know people are thinking like, oh, if Ben Johnson leaves, this offense is going to suck. No, this is Dan Campbell's offense. If you remember when Anthony Lynn was fired, this offense changed a little bit towards like the whole run dominant. And then when Amon
That
St.
play
Brown
action and
when St. Brown came on the field, that's when you started to see the offense kind of tick, 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 tick up. And obviously, when they put Ben Johnson in there, the offense was kind of like in a good spot because you just had to add some stuff to the playbook. And obviously, Ben Johnson's calling the offense, but the reality of the situation is Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, they work in unison. So if I'm Dan Campbell, I heard him on 97 Ticket today talk about how he was watching tape and there were some things that he thought were interesting. So you know what that's going to come down to.
when the coach says interesting, that mean they found something and they want to exploit the shit out of it.
Yeah, well, it's funny because well, stupid Stoney. I love Stoney, Mike Stone. He's one of my Facebook friends, but he was asking what was it, and he's like, "Why would I tell you?"
Right.
Like he's gonna tell you
Yeah.
because the reality of the situation is like Dan Campbell played the position, right? He played tight end, so he could see what's happening in the back end of the defense that he can exploit. That's one of the benefits of having a coach who played the game. That's one of the benefits. That's truly one of the benefits. And when you got a guy like Randall on that
Well, shit.
staff,
All of our coaches were prior players.
well,
Previous
yeah,
players.
when you got a guy like Randall Aldo that's on that staff and he knows the Ravens too, because he
Yeah.
played with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mark Brunell, he's been he was a quarterback for years in the NFL. They know what mismatches to exploit. And if I'm the Lions, one of the things I'm going to try to exploit is when you see them try to disguise the cover 2, audible, and send JAMO flying because if you connect, touchdown easily.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be exciting, man. It's going to be exciting to see what we have coming up. With our next matchup, like I said, with Baltimore, it'll be interesting because oh, my phone fell. We saw how we played again. Like we had a ton of pressure against Kansas City, but we couldn't get Mahomes down. We did. Geno Smith kind of carved us up a bit. Outside of those two guys, we haven't really played any like super dominant like running or rushing quarterbacks.
Right.
And we do play Justin Fields twice later this year, which he has been balling out, but I'm not worried about the Bears by any means.
No.
But it's going to be a true test to say, hey, what the hell are we going to do with Lamar Jackson? Are we going to be able to contain him? Are we going to be able to stop him? What are we going to do about that?
This is a game I don't worry about that. Truly. Because I see the way that the linebackers are flowing to the ball. I see the way that Brian Branch, he could be, if he's back, that's huge because you could put him as a quarterback spy kind of thing. I think that this team is more acquiesced to deal with Lamar than other teams. Because if you go back and you just got to go back and look at games where Lamar has struggled, and look at the defense that they presented, and look at the way that they kind of contained Lamar Jackson. If you contain Lamar Jackson, make him throw from the pocket, he's not as great as a quarterback as he is a runner. When he starts running wild, that's when you get in an issue. Right there. Yeah, so like if you're
Yeah, I got someone delivery guys here. Give me like 5 minutes.
All right, yeah. So if you get Lamar Jackson out of his rhythm, out of you get him passing instead of running, he turns into a totally different quarterback. I think it's the stat on Lamar Jackson is when he has 60 or less rushing yards, I think he's a below 500 quarterback. When he has 60 or above, he's a really great quarterback. And that just goes to show you how you really have to hem in on Lamar Jackson and make sure that he doesn't get out of the pocket and make things happen, because we know Lamar Jackson, he's such a great quarterback that he could as a runner, he can make things happen. And he does like to get outside the pocket to make passes, and you got one of the players that's going to have to really show up is going to be Alex Anzalone, these linebackers, because you're playing Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews as a tight end, he's very dangerous. He's probably the best tight end you're going to go against all year long. And let me try to think. You didn't play Travis Kelce, so that doesn't count. Yeah, so Mark Andrews would be one of the top tight ends you're going to play this year. And that's the matchup that I think the Ravens are going to try to exploit with Lamar Jackson. So they're going to try to get him out of the pocket and try to get him to get the ball to Mark Andrews. Ken Fisher says Branch or Campbell will contain him. That's where I agree with you. Branch will contain Lamar Jackson. I think that if you can put Lamar Jackson in a position where he's got to think that Brian Branch is his quarterback spy, you're really going to put yourself behind the 8 ball and really make some things difficult for Lamar Jackson, because he doesn't want to get hit. He doesn't want to. If you got a quarterback spy on him, I think one of the teams that really did a great job of containing Lamar Jackson was Tennessee. And they've done it routinely. And what they do is they have 3 safeties out there, so you have 3 safeties. But one of the things that they did with Tennessee is they put Kevin Byard as a quarterback spy on Lamar Jackson. And Lamar Jackson had one of his worst games as a passer and as a runner. I think he only got like 40 yards rushing, and I think he passed for 223 yards, and he had 2 picks. So that's what you got to do with him. Mason Page says Aiden will contain him as well. If he don't get held, he will be able to get through and sack him. This is a game where I really don't want Aiden Hutchinson to make the sack. I really just want to contain him. If you're a defensive end, you're going to have to try to contain Lamar Jackson, not sack him, because there's Lamar Jackson's so slithery that you got to watch out for. Just if he gets a little bit of wiggle room, he could be making it a 6-point advantage for him. So that's what you got to look out for.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. I didn't mean delivery person. I was the delivery person. I sold this desk. Like, it has like a desk with like a loft bed above it. I got it delivered to my house, and it didn't even have my name on it. And so I called the company or whatever, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we already sent them a new one. Like, it's no big deal. Just like keep it or whatever." I'm like, "Okay."
The adventures of Tyler on the podcast. It just continues. It just continues
every week, man. My life is very busy, and there's always shit going on. So
well, you're a salesperson, so
she goes, "Oh, I'm gonna come at like 7 or whatever when I got to work." I'm like, "Oh, okay." She didn't call, didn't text. So I said, "Oh, you must not be coming." Then text me 2 minutes ago. "I think I'm here." I'm like,
"Thank you for that."
I was like, yeah, I'm live with the homies talking football on BLN right now, but I guess let me sell this thing to you out of my garage. Sure.
If you are that lady that came to Tyler's house to buy a freaking desk futon, you're a hoe. Just
Yeah.
saying. Wow.
Not cool. No, very cool because give me a little extra bread. But anyways,
That's all
man,
good.
the Ravens defense is still like scary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it always is. Like think about like teams that have always had defenses, right? Like statistically, the Steelers, the Ravens, like some of like the Bears for the most part. I mean, not of late, but like teams that historically have pretty amazing defenses, and that's kind of like their identity. Like
Yeah.
Baltimore's not Baltimore unless they have a crazy good linebacking core and like just guys that just absolutely smack the shit out of you and just a good secondary. Like their defense is always just loaded. So I know they're dealing with a couple injuries. Um, but but that's the thing, man. Every single freaking week, I talk about, oh, this is going to be a real tough test for the Lions, and all of a sudden they just come and kick the shit out of people. So it's like I don't know what to expect, man. I'm
I
hoping we
would
see it. You know, we see the momentum rolling and we keep it going.
I would be shocked if they I would be shocked if they beat the Ravens, to be honest. I think this is a total game where um I just had there's matchups galore, and I think that the DVOA I think the Ravens are second in defensive DVOA.
Hmm.
So they're a pretty damn good defense. Their offense is top 10. They also make a lot of big plays. So I think they're just above the Detroit Lions in big play percentage throughout the
Yeah,
NFL.
if this were a home game, I would say Lions. But if since it's away in Baltimore, it's gonna be a tough one.
It's going to be a physical game, and Ray says it. He says this is going to be a physical game, so I hope the Lions can escape without any more injuries. Yeah, that's what you really hope, that you can escape this game without any injuries. And Tyler, you were selling the futon while one of the people they made a comment about Aiden Hutchinson. Uh, he said Aiden will contain him as well. If he doesn't get held, he will be able to get through and sack him. I said that you don't want to really sack Lamar Jackson, because if you go for the sack and he makes one little wiggle room,
Yeah.
he's gone. You kind of have to pen him in. Like what you did with Kenneth Walker. They did a really good job with Kenneth Walker.
Yeah.
A great job with
Yeah,
Kenneth
just
Walker.
limiting the outsides, keeping them in, and then letting your second level come and do the rest.
You gotta kind of hem him in, and then make sure he can't get out, because if he gets out,
Yeah.
he's gone. He's too good.
Well, and a guy
There's
like it's going to be important for a guy like Anzalone to be at his right spots too.
yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because I mean, like he's athletic and get side to side, but he's not nearly not nearly as quick or fast as Lamar Jackson. So if you have enough space between you, the linebackers have to play very smart, because if they play overly aggressive and they're shooting the gaps, it's going to be a long day.
yeah. I think a lot of people. I think they're so accustomed to the Lions beating the last 14 by 14 or more that they think that that's how it's going to go. But this is the NFL, and the team that you're playing is extremely well coached. There's a lot of talent on the defensive side, the offensive side. We know the special teams is good because Justin Tucker is a freaking animal.
Yeah, we
But
remember that last game. That was a heartbreak.
yeah, Stoney asked Dan Campbell about, yeah, Justin Tucker is a good a good kicker, and it's like yeah. Derek asked, how is Baltimore's secondary? Baltimore's secondary is really underrated. It's very, very underrated. And
They're always typically good in their secondary too.
it seems like all the time Baltimore just has like dogs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they just do it the right way. Like, Pittsburgh does it the right way too as well. They're having a little bit of a down year, but I think Mike Tomlin will right the ship because, Kenny Pickett just needs to stay healthy. But for the most part, like if they got Marlon Humphrey, they got Kyle Hamilton, who I loved Kyle Hamilton coming out of the draft. They got more. They got a lot of guys in that secondary that can make an impact. So they got good linebackers. Patrick Queen, the middle linebacker, he's very, very good. Defensive end, they just got guys. Like they literally every level of the defense. You look at the guys and you're like, that's an issue. That's an issue. that's an issue.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're always, like I said earlier, they're always statistically a top defense, and they are a very good team. I just, um, if you can, our rush defense has been very good. If we can get it to a position where Lamar Jackson has to win the game with his arm, I think we're gonna win this game. Because when Lamar Jackson hurts you with his legs and the rushing attack with the running backs and the read options and the RPOs, that's when you start to get broken down by these guys. If you can force Lamar to win the game purely with his arm, and you have to assume that that's with the current state of his wide receivers who aren't always super friendly with catching the ball. If you have to force Lamar to win the game with his arm, I don't know. I think that the Lions come out with a W in that sense. But it's very hard because that's not how they play the game. Hardly ever is the game in Lamar Jackson's arm. Hardly ever. They do such a good
Lamar
job with that.
Jackson's not known for his arm, and he will never
And
be
I don't
known
think he has
for his
a
arm.
bad arm or he's a bad
No,
thrower.
he's such a great runner that like it opens up the pass game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I feel like Justin Fields is a little bit like Lamar in this aspect where like when he runs, it opens up the pass game. So Lamar Jackson's the same way. The way that you keep it simple with him is you kind of have to like hem him in, make him beat you with his arm, and most of the time he won't beat you with his arm. And if you look at the way that the Steelers played the Ravens, and you look at the way that Mike Tomlin, that defense came at uh, they came at Lamar Jackson. That's kind of the way you have to do it. You have to if Dan Campbell or Aaron Glenn they're watching that the way to kind of beat the Baltimore Ravens, go look at that Pittsburgh game. You know, Pittsburgh doesn't have the talent that Detroit has. They have TJ Watt, but they don't have a good secondary. So but like if you could look at that, that's the way that you beat them.
Yeah.
Derek Hunter says if we can establish a run, we win by 10 points. Ken says Ben will have a few tricks up his sleeve. Yeah,
Well, it's going to be a battle of like who can dominate the time of possession and who can run the clock out. Like, both teams are like run heavy teams. Not having Monty sucks for us because, I mean, we did win. We won with him being out with just Gibbs, but with Gibbs coming back from injury and Monty potentially missing some time, um, it's gonna be a tough game, man. Like, I have heard rumblings of maybe us going after another running back, maybe say like a Leonard Fournette or a Dalvin Cook, or just picking up, making sure we're keeping guys on the practice squad and on the team. But if we can just keep dominating the time possession and we can try to like run this ball and kind of control the game at our pace and not let it be flip flopped. Because when you're in a position where the Ravens are controlling the clock and controlling the pace of this game and they're having a good rushing attack, it's very hard to beat them. When they
yeah.
are in control of their game and the time of the clock and the time possession and they feel like it's in their hands, it is hard to beat a team like that, especially a team that feels confident in doing that and they're going to be at home. This is probably our toughest test, at least for the next few weeks, because I mean, we after this we got the Raiders, and then what the
Bye week, and then you got the Chargers, which the
Bears.
Chargers, as talented as they are, I said it yesterday on my page. I said, dude, as talented as they are, like Brandon Staley is a moron, so he will give you a game.
Dude, and
If the
I'm gonna get
Lions,
cooked. And I'm gonna
if
get
the,
cooked for this before you say this,
yeah,
dude. I seen Herbert overthrow so many easy balls. I was like, oh
yeah,
my god, bro!
but
Like,
that's because they lean on him too much, dude. They lean
oh.
the offense. I feel bad for Kellen Moore because he goes there to call an offense, and his coach is just is an idiot and just makes stupid decisions. Like, go get the points. So if the Lions play like they have, the Lions have held opponents to under 50 rushing yards 3 times in the first 6 games that season. The last time they did it was 1943. Um, Also, they have held teams under 100. The last time they did that for all 6 games at the start of the season was 1932. And there was a team in the NFL at that time that was called the Staten Island Stampedes. So That just tells you how long ago it really was. If the Lions can just do what they've been able to
90
do,
years ago, bro.
man,
90.
I'll tell you what, man.
Jeez.
But if the Lions could do what they've been doing with the run game, they'll be fine. I think they win this game. But Roy, he brings up a good point. He says we really need Brian Branch in this game. If we can do what we do in the run game and keep Mark Andrews in check, we should pull it out. This is the game that you need Brian Branch. And I think that if the Lions were looking forward to kind of game planning it, you know what I'm saying? They're like, okay, Brian Branch, we need him to be healthy by Baltimore. That's what we need him.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Branch on Mark Andrews is a very positive matchup for us. They might see it as a mismatch as well, which could benefit us because
Yeah.
I think that Brian Branch would be the perfect guy to guard Mark Andrews. If they see it as a mismatch because of height and strength or whatever that they see, and they start to target his way, and we got Brian Branch, cracking pads. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I think a guy like Mark Andrews is like kind of like Travis Kelce. You don't really stop him, you contain him. That's
Yeah.
it. And a guy like I have Mark Andrews on my fantasy football team, so I know he can be contained because I've seen it in a couple games. And so in a couple weeks, I'm like, damn it, dude, like again. And then let's just say this right now. I don't know what your fantasy team looks like, Tyler, but my fantasy team.
I got about 11 of them, so.
So look. Look. I have 3 leagues that I really care about. Okay, 3 leagues. That's it. 3 leagues.
I'm in too many.
1 league. Nick Chubb snaps his leg. Screw it. I have Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has been injured. Not to mention Garrett Wilson got injured last week. Then in my one dynasty league, which I'm trying to keep going to the playoffs because I've been doing a damn good job, Justin Jefferson gets hurt. Aaron Jones can't stay healthy. I'm like, holy mother of God, man! Like the injuries this year for football have been absolutely insane.
Well, that's something we touched on earlier, and we do talk about from time to time is that the Lions, like, dude, the fact that they've been missing so many people and they're still finding ways to win. We're not nearly the healthiest team in the league. Like, guys are dropping like flies every week, but we're still winning. Like, this is a sign of a good team with a lot of depth. This is a good deep team, dude. Man, it felt like forever. Like if we had a guy or two go down, we were just
You know the
suddenly.
pain, Roy. You know the pain. You know the pain.
But man, like look at us shining, dude. We guys are getting hurt and shit, and we're still out here finding ways to win games, man. This is a well-coached team for real.
I do think it's admirable for you to have the injuries that you have right now with James Houston being out, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Monty now. You've had multiple guards. You had multiple guards out at one time, especially this week. This last week you were starting.
Missed the game.
You're starting Oshika and Graham Glasgow, which that's not a good recipe for this thing, but they just step up. And the one thing we could say about this team is when is enough injuries going to be enough? But I think that they're starting to get healthy at the right time because if you're asking me right now, would you rather be healthy to start the season and then get injured at the end of the season, or would you rather get injured at the beginning of the season and get healthy by the playoffs? I'd probably lean towards the playoffs. I want to be healthy by.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of the teams, something stuck in my damn eye. A lot of teams, they get to a position where they kind of feel like so many teams are like, can we just hang on until we get some of our key guys back? Can we just hang on? Can we just, like the Jets, can we just be enough to where Aaron Rodgers with his special Achilles device and probably the stem cells he got shot in his ankle in Tijuana. But can we hang on enough for this guy to come back and save us, kind of per se? With us, we don't really have that, which is really nice because usually when you miss key contributors, you're trying to do your best to get your head above water and try not to drown while the guys can come back and come in and get healthy. With us, it's like, oh, hey, man, well, we're going to miss you for a couple of weeks, but that's okay. The next guy behind you is going to come up and do just as good of a job. That's, like I said, that's how you know our team is coached by a bunch of just absolute dogs. And it's more of like we're building more of a system versus relying on a couple players. Like,
Yeah.
how long have we relied on a guy? Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Ndamukong Suh, Matthew Stafford. Like, like you build, like you rely on a guy. Dude, when Calvin Johnson missed games, our offense was just absolute horse shit.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is something I look at. So Baltimore has jumped Detroit for the most big plays through week 6. So this is week 5, but Baltimore has jumped Detroit. Detroit's gone to 4th, but as you can see, they're a pretty damn good team. But if you hem in their rushing plays, that's where they get the most big plays. So if you can hem in the rushing yards, you'll be good. If Brian Branch is back, that's even better for the Detroit Lions because I think that's a key to the game. If Brian Branch is playing, you'll be fine. I think that's the way it's going to go.
Yep, I definitely see that, man. I am hoping that we do establish a run. Hopefully, we get Gibbs getting some carries and getting some work, get some love in there, and seeing what he can do with the rock. And hopefully, we just keep this machine rolling, and we just keep it well oiled, and we keep the momentum running hot. And I mean.
Now
What else can you say? You kind of got to ride till the wheels fall off.
Now we might do a game preview pod. We'll have to figure out maybe Saturday. I don't know what you're doing,
No,
but
I'd love to. I think that'd be dope.
But if we do a game preview pod, obviously we're gonna do a game post game too. Probably this week. I know we've been kind of slacking on that. We're gonna get back to that. Darcy is gonna. I think he's getting back off suspension, so he has an annual, post game show. Me and Tyler will both be on there because Detroit Lions Darcy. He's a great guy and he does the post game shows and because he likes it and that's his.
Yeah, it's
That's
always
his
a lot
time.
of fun, man. We hop on there and chop it up for an hour or two and just get some of the crew in there, man. Get Avery and Walt and
Yep.
some of the
Shante.
homies and Shante.
Yeah, we got it's great to have those guys on there and then man, look, I don't know if you have anything else to say, but I think that the one thing we can say about this game coming up is it's gonna be a total battle, and I'm kind of stressed out about it.
Well, there's two, and that one of those comments about like, can we sneak out of here without any more injuries? As simple and as silly as that sounds, it's really really true because this is going to be a physical game, man. These are two of them, probably the top 5 physical teams in the whole NFL right now, maybe even the most two physical. You can make an argument for, and they're going to be like battling head to head, like using their bodies as like human spears, So like we're just going to be like out there battling to hell, and it's going to be crazy because you got to get out of this thing without guys getting concussions or hurting themselves. So how do you play aggressive without hurting yourself? Well, you kind of just got to hope and pray and hope that you play the game the right way and you don't get any freak things happen. A lot of injuries, man. A lot of that non-contact shit this year has been from all these crazy turf injuries and all this stuff going on, man. The NFL needs to step up and they need to put grass in all 32 fields.
I don't think that's gonna help, to be honest. But
it's just you always hear this conflicting evidence, but then you hear from all the players, and like the players are the ones that play on it all day, every day, and they.
Then on the side of the grass, you have the Washington field where more people have torn their ACLs than any other field.
It's true.
So that's where you kind of have to go because if you have shitty grass, like you are going to have a lot of injuries. And I trust grass in a dome? Not really.
Yeah, well, you can take care of it. It just depends on how much money you want to spend. Look, NFL owners do not like to spend money.
Unless
Breaking news, Detroit Lions News Podcast.
But I have heard from people that
owners don't like to spend the money.
I have heard from people that played at Ford Field that the turf that they got there is like one of a kind.
That's cool.
So that's why like they say it's like one of a kind because it doesn't give you the kind of like the traction to get stuck in there.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the non-contact injuries. I know James Houston had that broken leg against Seattle, but that was a fluke, man. That was so weird the way it happened. Like he kind of went back and he fell on it.
So has there been any word about him at all?
So Dan Campbell told the press, the Lions beat writers, that he could be back at the end of the season. Same with Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, so that's good.
Yeah.
But they're not going to make any timetable for a return
Dude,
because
CJ, bro, I love him, man. He is like still out here talking shit. He's talking shit to Debo Samuel and doing all like that guy is such a culture guy. Like I know that like it was mixed coming into it because like the dude talks a bunch of shit and like you either love him or you hate him. But he just seems so like Detroit to me, bro. Like
well,
he's tough, he's hard nosed, he talks his talk, he walks his walk, he's got this swag and demeanor about him. Like he's just such a culture guy, and he just seems to fit Detroit. I hope we bring him back.
Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I know there's a lot of people that don't like him talking the talk and talking all
You
that junk,
gotta have a guy that gives you some swag
but
though.
I feel like there's always a guy on a championship team that will literally say, like he'll say whatever he wants. He'll talk, and you need those guys though, because the reality of the situation, if you have guys that don't talk, you're never gonna get someone off their game. I was king trash talker, and I'm still king of trash talker. And if you get someone off their game and they make a stupid mistake, guess what? You're winning. You're winning
Yeah.
that battle. That's what.
Well, we talked about before how guys like DK Metcalf, he gets on tilt a lot, and
Yeah.
he's, just last week he's punching some dude in the face mask or hitting some open palm fisting some dude in the freaking
He's kicking the
face.
pylon because he didn't get the ball. That was funny as
And it's
well.
like that's a guy you get a talented player like that where you can get them off tilt and you just get in their damn head. It does affect the game, and like I mean, guys like Kobe and Michael Jordan and these guys that were at the top of their game in their respective sports, dude, they always were talking their shit, man. You got to the game is it's a lot of mental aspects
Well,
of the game.
Michael Jordan made up stuff about people talking shit about him. So
I guarantee you there's mother. I guarantee. I mean, if people weren't talking shit to him, he was still talking shit. Like he was the one talking shit. So just like some of the crazy things that I hear about Kobe, about him memorizing, people's families' birthdays and this and that just to get in people's minds and play these crazy mind games. I mean, it's a whole nother element to sports, and that's the mental aspect of it. Like if you can get in there and just totally like throw someone off, if you can get someone to play on tilt, you have an extra advantage. That's for sure. So
that's a great one. She
yeah, facts.
ball don't lie, baby. Ball don't lie.
Oh, dude, we don't have a ring if we don't get Sheet over here for sure.
Oh, no,
That dude was the glue.
no, he was that guy was that put them over the top. That's
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. Jason Fuller says, just wondering if you guys know if Hendon Hooker is injured and he is out for the season.
Not technically, but
he might be activated at some point in time. When he's activated is the question, because once you activate them, you got 21 days to put him on the roster.
I don't see the point of doing that. Because we have Teddy Bridgewater and he's healthy and Goff is healthy. I don't see the need or the desire or the reason. I think if they can milk that and maybe put him on like the IR for the year and milk that as long as they can and keep that extra roster spot open without, because if you do that, he can't get swiped. He can't get sniped from guys, other teams signing him from our practice squad. We're going to keep him out as long as we can, I think.
And it when you activate him is the key part of it. When you activate him, that's going to be the key part of it. Do you got any closing thoughts, Tyler?
Well, nothing too crazy. Stay healthy, stay aggressive. Ride the momentum. I'm going to keep it short this week. We're 5-1 football team. If we can keep stacking these wins together, we want to go until the wheels fall off of this thing. So let's stack some wins. Let's keep the momentum going. Let's keep the streak alive. And like I said, let's try to play smart ball. Obviously be aggressive and don't allow yourself to kind of lay down and take a loss here. But try your best to play smart ball, man. So we can get our guys healthy and rested up and dominate time of possession and control this game. It's a very hard thing to do, to control the entire game when you're the away team, but we just did it against Tampa Bay and we absolutely dominated the shit out of them. So let's go into Baltimore with that same confidence and let's try to dominate from start to finish. Let's just let's make them play Lions football. Let's make them play our pace and let's let's see what we can do, man. Let's get JAMO down the field on another 50-yarder. Huh?
Yep, exactly. So if you were obviously if you heard me when I was talking about when Tyler was selling the futon, I was telling you you gotta hem in Lamar Jackson to beat him and make him throw to beat you. If they do that, they'll win. I also like if you can audible some passes when you can diagnose when they're gonna do a zero blitz. Goff isn't going to have the time, so he's going to have to just throw a deep route to JMO, and that's the way that you can get open. You do that, you're going to win this game. If you can't ham in Lamar Jackson, you're asking for a little bit of a squirrely kind of time because we all know Lamar Jackson. He's better outside the pocket, and when he can get to his weapons like Zay Flowers, like Mark Andrews, and get a pass outside the pocket, he's way better outside the pocket than in the pocket. So if you keep him in the pocket, you're going to win this football game. If you don't, you're asking for a little bit of what do they call it on the red zone? The witching hour. It's going to be witching 3 hours because it's going to be tough to handle a guy like Lamar Jackson. But you handled Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. I don't think anybody can dispute that. So if you can hem in a guy like Patrick Mahomes, keep him kind of limited, you're going to have a good chance because I know a lot of people. Aaron Glenn had a great game plan against Lamar Jackson last time, if you remember right. They had a great game plan. Great game plan. They didn't have the defense they have now, and they didn't have the players that they have now. So if you can put yourself in the best position, this is an Aaron Glenn type game. I know he's scheming up some shit for Lamar Jackson because if you make Lamar Jackson think, that's the worst thing that can happen because when Lamar Jackson thinks too much, he starts making some mistakes, man. He starts pressing too much, and
Yeah, if you let him play instinct ball, it's gonna be hard.
when you when you when you play when you Lamar Jackson has to play instincts, it's all she wrote. And I talked to a guy who's a Baltimore Raven fan, and he literally said the one thing that you don't want to see Lamar Jackson turn into when he's playing the Lions is from his end is where Lamar Jackson has to go back there and throw the ball and it's on time. If it's on time and he's got to throw a ball, he is not winning that game. And that's what Pittsburgh has done to him the whole time. They contain him, like Josh says in the comments. They contain. You contain him and you make him throw from the pocket. He starts throwing some balls that you really, if you do it too much, you're going to get intercepted. And I think with Kirby Joseph, with Tracy Walker, this is a game where they can make some mistakes and pay. And another thing you gotta keep in mind though is these wide receivers. I don't know if you've watched it on all 22. I know a lot of people haven't, but if you watch it on all 22, they don't run precise routes. So if you can cut off a route, and that's Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton knows his team more than anybody on the Lions. Knows them more than anybody because he played in division with them the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
This is a game where you got Aaron Glenn, you got Cam Sutton, guys that know the Ravens. This is a game for them, and this is going to be where you kind of show out your defense. And if you win this game, we're talking number one seed. Period.
Let's go, baby.
So let's win this game. Let's go talk about number one seed because if you win this game, go look at the schedule. Go look at the schedule. It's not hard. It's not hard. It's really not. You got the Bears, you got the Vikings, you got the Packers. I mean, you might drop one of those games. You got the Broncos, that shit show. This is all
Raiders.
set up for the Lions to make a run here. Their hardest game is going to be the Dallas Cowboys, and we all know who Dak Prescott is. We don't need to rehash that. We all know who Dak Prescott is. So just win this game. You're talking number one seed, guarantee you. All right, Tyler, it's been a great podcast for everyone that has been watching on the YouTube and the Facebook. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Thank you for all the comments. We had tons of comments. I lost comments. That's
Yeah,
how
man. No, we
much
love our engagement. I like this whole style of like kind of like a Q&A, chop it up type of pod has been really fun. It gets us a chance to be interactive with you guys. It gives us a chance to talk about a variety of different topics, and it keeps us kind of not so boxed in, and it's a lot of fun, man. So
So if you're still watching, here's what I want you to do. If you liked it, if you like the show, go rate us, go review us, and on Apple and Spotify, we would appreciate it. And that's where if you missed any portion of the podcast, that's where you can find the full podcast I didn't upload the last one because I thought I uploaded it, but I didn't upload it. So this one will be uploaded tonight. So we will see you guys in the next podcast, and we'll see you after the post game. So thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next podcast if we talk more Lions football. Probably we might do a podcast Saturday. So stay tuned for that.
All right. Night, guys.